anemia is defined as anemia due to increased red cell destruction coupled with increased erythropoiesis. Basically, hemolysis means there will be destruction of red blood cells. Okay, this is anemia due to increased red cell destruction coupled with increased erythropoiesis. Now it can be classified. Hemolytic anemia can be classified as increased red cell destruction may be due to abnormality of red cells, making them more susceptible to destruction by normal mechanism, intrinsic or inherited defect. Other one is alteration in the environment of red cells or extrinsic causes, resulting in increased hemolysis. So it is classified based on intrinsic factor, that is inherited defect, or extrinsic factor which cause destruction of RBC. So what are the causes of hemolytic anemia? The causes भन्दा पनि हुन्छ, classification भन्दा पनि हुन्छ. Okay, if they ask causes, you can write this one, or if they ask classification of hemolytic anemia, you can write in this way. So one is intracorpuscular defect inside the red blood cells, like hereditary red cell enzyme deficiency, for which examples are G6PD deficiency, that is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, pyruvate kinase deficiency, hexokinase deficiency. Okay, these are the enzyme deficiency. Among these enzymes, glucose 6-phosphate, right, G6PD deficiency is very common. Next one is hereditary defect of red cell membrane. एउटा चाहिँ इन्ट्राकर्पस्कुलरमा enzyme deficiency हो, अर्को defect of red cell membrane, for which examples are hereditary spherocytosis, hereditary stomatocytosis. So among these other are also there, like hereditary leptocytosis. Among these, hereditary spherocytosis is very common. So enzyme G6PD deficiency, in membrane defect spherocytosis, hereditary spherocytosis is common one. So third one is ineffective erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis will be there, but which will be ineffective, like in case of thalassemia, beta thalassemia, alpha thalassemia. Okay. Fourth one is hemoglobinopathies. Examples like sickle cell anemia, hemoglobin C, D, E diseases. Fifth one is paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Sixth one is infantile phagocytosis. These all are intracorpuscular defect, under which enzyme deficiency is there, like G6PD deficiency, membrane defect is there, like hereditary spherocytosis, ineffective erythropoiesis, thalassemia, hemoglobinopathies like sickle cell anemia, and fifth one is paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, sixth one is infantile phagocytosis. Other one is extracorpuscular defect, under which immune hemolytic anemia, like examples isoimmune niacin, like RH and ABO incompatibility, autoimmunization, under which not under which this one is immune hemolytic anemia, and second one is due to infection like malaria, kala azar, disseminated tuberculosis. Third one is disseminated intravascular coagulation and hemolytic uremic syndrome. These are extracorpuscular defect which can cause immune hemolytic anemia. Okay. Now we'll discuss about one by one. First one is we'll discuss about hereditary red cell enzyme deficiency, among which glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency is common one, and they can act as a short notes. G6PD deficiency भनेर short notes सोध्न सक्छ. That is intracorpuscular defect. So what is G6PD deficiency? It's a commonest hereditary enzyme defect, like glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency will be there. The X-linked inherited disorder, most common in boys. Some are the common variant of G6PD deficiency, like G6PD-B, G6PD-A+, G6PD-A-, G6PD-B-. These are the common variants. So what is the pathogenesis in glucose phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency? Normally glucose is metabolized by red blood cells either through energy producing glycolytic pathway or hexose monophosphate shunt, HMP shunt. So if there is any G6PD deficiency is there, this glucose 6-phosphate will not convert into 6-phosphogluconic acid. So NADP will not convert into NADPH+, and 2GSH भनेको glutathione will not convert into GSSG भनेको चाहिँ reduced glutathione. If you remember the biochemistry, so in hexomonophosphate shunt, HMP shunt, to the deficiency of G6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzymes, glucose 6-phosphate will not convert into 6-phosphogluconic acid. NADP will not convert into NADPH+ ion, and glutathione will not convert into reduced. So in detail, in glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, which I have already mentioned previously, glucose 6-phosphate and NADP are not converting to 6-phosphogluconic acid and NADPH. So glutathione cannot be converted into reduced form, hence oxidation of hemoglobin to methemoglobin, and Hinge bodies continue to be unchecked. If these are exposed to oxidant drugs or during infection, then these Hinge bodies will attach to the erythrocytes, which becomes more rigid and tend to stagnate and destroyed by the macrophages in the spleen. So in this way, in G6PD deficiency, the hemolysis will occur. That means there is an increased destruction of red blood cells. Okay. On exposure to certain oxygen drugs, the patient develops severe intravascular hemolysis and hemoglobinuria. What are the antioxidant drugs? Like antimalarial drugs like primaquine, quinine, nitrofurantoin, sulfonamides, naphthalene, acetophenone, nitidine, nalidixic acid. These are the drugs they consumed by the person or child who is having glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. So patient develop severe hemolysis and hemoglobinuria. Other infections like septicemia, viral hepatitis also can trigger hemoglobinuria or hemolysis. Now, clinical feature, very deep, it's very on different variant, like variant of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, oxygen exposure, sex of the patient. So there are three types of G6PD deficiency. One is mildest form. Common variant is G6PD A-. It's the mildest form, but the enzyme level is only reduced by 8 to 15%. And in this portion means in this case, sensitive to strong oxidant drugs like primaquine, sulfonamides, naphthalene, vitamin K. In that case, only hemolysis or hemoglobinuria will occur. Often do not have hyperbilirubinemia or hemolysis. Patient will be asymptomatic, only exposure to these severe antioxidant drugs like primaquine, sulfonamides, naphthalene, vitamin K. Patient develop hemolysis, hemoglobin D. Otherwise, they will be asymptomatic. In type 2, that is moderate form. Okay, variant are G6PD B-, 6-PD Canton. Hemolysis occur on exposure to any oxidant drugs. Patient will develop due to hemolysis, the indirect unconjugated bilirubin level will be increased. That will cause jaundice. Jaundice will be severe, prolonged. Rarely, patient may develop encephalopathy. If the jaundice is very severe, if you don't treat, the small newborn on exposure to the drugs, okay, they may develop severe hyperbilirubinemia that can cause encephalopathy or sometimes connectors also. Type 3, it is a severe form, hemolysis occur even without exposure to the drugs. So enzyme activity is very low. Without exposure to any drugs, patient will develop hemolysis. Hemolysis will cause increase in unconjugated bilirubin, which can cause jaundice. Clinically, patient looks pale. Hemolysis. Clinically, patient looks pale and icteric. So here, severe hemolysis and hemoglobinuria. Investigation-wise, you have to do complete blood count. In the complete blood count, if you see due to increased hemolysis, the hemoglobin level will be low. There will be increase in reticulocyte count. That retic count will be increased. Peripheral blood smear will show normocytic normochromic anemia. Unconjugated bilirubin will be raised. So there will be red cells staining off on the peripheral blood smear. If we stain the red cells, so hinge bodies is a diagnostic one. And you can, in other conditions also, you can see the hinge bodies, but basically you diagnose by seeing the level of the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase level, which is really low. So you have to measure estimate the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase level. No specific treatment is required. If anemia is there, give packed red blood cell transfusion around 10 to 15 ml per kg over 4 to 6 hours. In between, you can give the classics. Avoid the oxidant drugs, which I have mentioned previously. And if there is severe hemoglobinuria, patient may develop acidosis, so you have to give sodium bicarbonate. Next one is in enzyme deficiency. The other one is pyruvate kinase deficiency. Will not go into detail. Usually they will not ask. Now we'll come to membrane defect. In membrane defect, commonest one is hereditary spherocytosis. So hereditary spherocytosis also they can ask as a short note. Even short note ma sodna सक्छ hereditary spherocytosis. So it's an autosomal dominant condition. What is the basic pathology in hereditary spherocytosis? Like the red cell stromal protein, like in red blood cell, there has two protein like spectrin and encarin. They are deficient because of reduced synthesis. So inherited, there will be deficiency of spectrin and encarin protein. So red cell becomes rigid and cannot be deformed easily. So because these spectrin and encarin will give the framework of the RBC, like it's a skeleton of the RBC. So if they are deficient, red cell become more rigid and cannot be deformed easily, and these are sequestered within the spleen, and there will be stasis of the blood. The stasis of the blood is there. There will be hypoxia, reduced oxygenation to the tissue, lead to metabolic acidosis, decreased glycolysis of the red blood cells. As a result, less ATP is available. Phospholipid, cholesterol, and protein are also lost from the RBC. So there are loss of red cell membrane, which reduce the surface area. As the volume does not decrease, the cells become more spheroidal. So red blood cell become spherical in shape. Hence, spheroidal cells are retained in the spleen and lysed. So in this way, there will be hemolysis. So in this way, these are spherical shaped red cells are destroyed by the spleen. Hemolysis occur. So clinically, due to hemolysis, unconjugated bilirubin will be increased. It's called clinically icterus. Patient becomes develop jaundice. Due to increase hemolysis, hemoglobin level will decrease. Clinically, you will see the patient is pale. Patient will become anemic, and you may find this splenomegaly. First few months of life, there will be anemia. Clinically, you find pallor, icterus, and in 15% of the cases, there will be splenomegaly. In childhood, there will be chronic anemia. Patient will have progressive pallor. Patient is icteric due to jaundice. There will be hepatosplenomegaly. Patient may develop pigmented gallstones. The stasis of the blood will be there. Reduce oxygenation to the tissue, that can lead to chronic leg ulcer, and sometimes during infection, like crisis can occur, during which anemia becomes more severe. Diagnosis, you do the complete blood count. In complete blood count, you have to see the hemoglobin, which will be decreased. If you do the liver function test, unconjugated bilirubin will be increased. Rest SGOT, SGPT, because it is a indirect hemoglobinuria, hemolytic type of jaundice. So enzymes will be normal. Hepatic enzymes will be normal, like SGOT, SGPT, alkaline phosphatase will be normal. Only unconjugated bilirubin will be increased. Conjugate bilirubin will be normal. Because more increase in destruction of red blood cell, more premature RBC will be released. So retic count will be increased. If you do the peripheral blood smear, you can see the microspherocytosis. That is cells without central pallor. You can do the osmotic fragility test. Osmotic fragility will be increased. Red cell is excessively fragile on exposure to the hypotonic sunlight. That osmotic fragility test increase. Nowadays, Neurodiagnostic modality is there. A test is called eosin-5 maleimide dye test. You can do by the flow cytometry. Used for diagnosis of hereditary spherocytosis. The mean fluorescence intensity of EMA tagged erythrocytes is lower in hereditary spherocytosis than that in other hemolytic or non-hemolytic anemia. In this way, you can diagnose hereditary spherocytosis. On peripheral blood smear, you can see the spherocytes, okay, spheroidal shape RBC. In other conditions also it can occur. And osmotic fragility test will be increased, and EMA dye test you can do for diagnosis. Treatment, you have to give the folic acid supplementation. If anemia is severe, if the hemoglobin is less than 8 gram per percentage, you can give the packed red blood cell transfusion, PRBC, around 10 to 15 ml per kg over 4 to 6 hours. In between, you can give the Lasix. During neonatal period, jaundice is high. You have to reduce the unconjugated bilirubin by giving phototherapy, or you can do the exchange blood transfusion if the jaundice level does not decrease by the phototherapy. After 6 years, if necessary, if child is having persistent severe symptoms, chronic anemia, after 6 years, you can do the splenectomy. Before doing the splenectomy, you have to give vaccine at least 3 months prior to the splenectomy. You have to cover the meningococcal, pneumococcal, and Haemophilus influenza. All 3 vaccines like meningococcal vaccines or pneumococcal Prevnar or Haemophilus influenza type B like HIP vaccines, dinosaccharides. Other enzymes are not very common. Other membrane defects are not very common. So we'll now move to thalassemia. Hereditary stomatocytosis are common China. They will usually not ask in the exam. Hereditary xerocytosis, hereditary pyropoikilocytosis are sodhanutari. Now we'll come to third one, that is ineffective erythropoiesis. The main example is thalassemia. The term thalassemia derived from the Greek word thalassa, meaning the Great Sea. WHO estimates around 4.5% of the world population are carriers of hemoglobinopathies. These are the heterogeneous group of hereditary disorder of reduced hemoglobin synthesis. Patients show variable degree of hypochromic anemia with evidence of hemolysis and ineffective erythropoiesis. There are basically 2 types of thalassemia. One is alpha thalassemia, other one is beta thalassemia. In alpha thalassemia, if the synthesis of alpha chain is suppressed, level of all 3 normal hemoglobin like hemoglobin A, adult hemoglobin 2, and fetal hemoglobin are reduced. One is beta thalassemia. If beta chain are suppressed because of mutation in the beta gene, then production of adult hemoglobin is also suppressed. So here in beta thalassemia, adult hemoglobin will be reduced and fetal hemoglobin will be increased. So there is alpha thalassemia, other one is beta thalassemia. We'll discuss now about beta thalassemia, which is more common. Usually they ask in the exam. So in beta thalassemia, basic pathogenesis is beta chain production either totally, partially, or minimally depressed, depending upon the mutation. So totally depressed हुन सक्छ, that cause thalassemia major, partially thalassemia in between intermediate or minimally thalassemia minor. So the gene are designated as beta thal 0 plus or beta thal plus. Hemolysis occurs due to imbalance in production of alpha and beta chain. In homozygous thalassemia major, severe thalassemia gene are inherited from both the parents and production of beta chain is markedly reduced. In some cases of homozygous thalassemia, thalassemia intermedia, one of abnormal genes may be milder. त्यही हुनाले thalassemia intermedia हुन्छ. Severe छ भने thalassemia major हुन्छ. One gene is mildly having some defect or abnormal, then that can cause thalassemia intermedia. In heterozygous individual, a normal beta chain gene is inherited along with the thalassemia beta thal 0 gene or mild beta thalassemia. That will call thalassemia minor. In this way, there will be thalassemia major, intermediate, or minor, depending on the mutation or defect in the gene. Pathologically, production of beta chain is suppressed, but gamma and delta chain may be enhanced. Adult hemoglobin केले बनेको हुन्छ? Adult hemoglobin is basically have alpha beta chain and alpha chain. Okay, 2 alpha chain, 2 beta chain. In beta thalassemia, production of beta chain is suppressed, but gamma or delta chain may be enhanced. A part of latter, this delta chain, a part of latter combines with normally produced alpha chain to form excess of fetal hemoglobin. So gamma alpha to gamma 2. That will cause increase in the formation of fetal hemoglobin and slightly increase in the number of the adult hemoglobin A2, alpha 2, delta 2. So beta chain से suppress हुन्छ, gamma र delta chain enhance हुन्छ. Alpha 2, gamma 2 will cause more of form more of fetal hemoglobin, and alpha 2, delta 2 will form adult hemoglobin 2. Most of the alpha chain are precipitated inside the normoblasts. So these alpha chain are precipitated inside the normoblasts. Normoblasts with precipitate alpha chain are destroyed within the marrow. These normoblasts are destroyed within the marrow, not outside the marrow, within the marrow. Thus, erythropoiesis is ineffective. So erythropoiesis but which is ineffective. That's why unconjugated bilirubin are not very high. So in case of thalassemia, you'll see mild jaundice, not very severe. So anemia stimulates production of erythropoietin. This lead to increased erythropoiesis. Anemia the kidney will produce more of erythropoietin. This lead to increased erythropoiesis, formation of red blood cells, but which is ineffective because these are lies inside the marrow. Increased erythropoiesis result in expansion of medullary cavities of various bones. Erythropoiesis which is ineffective. So other than during after birth, in the long bones, in the tibia, in the superior spine, in the sternum, superior spine, there are more bone marrows. We try to form the red blood cell, but which is ineffective. So other bone also will get enlarged for erythropoiesis. And apart from the bone, liver and spleen also will get involved due to erythropoiesis, because during the fetal period, liver and spleen play a major role in the formation of red blood cells. So due to extramedullary hematopoiesis, the liver and spleen also will get enlarged. So iron released from the breakdown of RBC cannot utilize from hemoglobin synthesis. This iron, so there will increase in the ferritin level, and this iron will deposited in various organs like spleen, liver, heart, endocrine, leading to their malfunction. So clinically, because of hemolysis, you can see the child is pale, have mild icterus that I have already mentioned because this RBC lies within the marrow. So due to extramedullary hematopoiesis, the spleen and liver also will get enlarged. There will be hepatosplenomegaly. Later there will be in thalassemia major, massive hepatosplenomegaly will be there. And medullary cavities of the various bones are also like facial bone also will get enlarged. That will cause mongoloid facies, which is characterized by bowing of skull, prominent frontal and parietal eminences, flattened vault, straight forehead, hypertrophy of maxilla, prominent malar bridge, depressed nasal bridge, puffy eye. So changes in the skull bone also you can see. Teeth are malformed, nutritional status become poor, that will be malnourished. Activity is reduced, physical growth is markedly retarded. Child may have got irregular fever, feed poorly. There may fracture of long bones can occur due to expansion of the medullary cavities. Bone become more fragile. Death can occur due to severe anemia, liver or cardiac failure. Next one is thalassemia intermediate. Clinical manifestation occur between thalassemia major and minor due to inheritance of mutant genes from both the parents, lead to normal life with little or occasional medical support. They may have mild anemia, child may have mild jaundice, the child looks mild pallor will be there, mild icteric will be there. Facial deformity may be present but are not diagnostic one like in thalassemia major. Growth is usually retarded but may be normal also. They may have got gallstones, chronic liver dysfunction, osteoporosis. These are the features in case of thalassemia intermediate. Thalassemia major have more of clinical features, intermediate in between, and they may have mild hepatosplenomegaly, not like thalassemia major. Intermediate have mild hepatosplenomegaly. In thalassemia major, there will be moderate to massive hepatosplenomegaly will be there. Fracture of bones may occur. Other one is thalassemia minor. It's the mildest form. May be heterogeneous inheriting only one mutant gene, other gene is normal. Usually compensatory increase in delta chain synthesis resulting in higher adult hemoglobin A2 level in this case. They will not ask about thalassemia minor. And increased level of fetal hemoglobin is inconstant. In case of thalassemia minor, production of hemoglobin A is slightly reduced. The child may have got mild anemia, child may have mild icteric, jaundice, and some abdominal pain will be there. So how will you diagnose thalassemia major? Usually we will discuss about thalassemia major. So you have to do the complete blood count. Again, due to hemolysis, the hemoglobin level will be reduced. CBC once a complete blood count garne. See the hemoglobin level is reduced. And diagnostic test, you have to do the hemoglobin electrophoresis, where you see the markedly increase in the fetal hemoglobin, more than 92-93%. Adult hemoglobin A is reduced. Fetal hemoglobin बढ्छ, adult hemoglobin A चाहिँ reduce हुन्छ, and adult hemoglobin A2 may be normal. Total leukocyte count may be normal or low. Reticulocyte count, increase huncha. Hematocrit level is reduced. MCV, mean corpuscular volume, mean corpuscular hemoglobin, mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, all will be reduced. There will be mild leukocytosis and thrombocytosis, slightly increase in the white blood cell count and platelet count. If you do the peripheral blood smear, you can see the microcytes, hypochromic, anisocytosis, poikilocytosis. You can see the target cells, teardrop cells, polychromasia, fragmented cells, nuclear remnant like Powell Jolly bodies or Hinge bodies, large number of early, intermediate, and late erythroblast. Microcytes भनेको small RBC देख्न सकिन्छ. Hypochromia, it's a microcytic hypochromic anemia. One of the differential diagnosis of microcytic hypochromic anemia is thalassemia. Other condition where you can see the microcytic hypochromic anemia in case of iron deficiency anemia, in a sideroblastic anemia, or chronic renal or liver failure, sometimes usually neurocytic neurochromia in lead poisoning. So here you can see the microcytes, different anisocytes, different size of the red blood cells, poikilos, different shape of the red blood cells. Okay. Polychromasia, different staining of the red blood cells, you can see. Fragmented red blood cells. If you do the bone marrow usually we don't do in case of thalassemia major. There in bone marrow there will be hypercellular erythroid hyperplasia will be there. Osmotic fragility test will be decreased. Like hereditary spherocytosis increase huncha, यसमा the fragility of red cell on exposure to the hypotonic saline will be decreased. There will increase in the serum bilirubin level, usually unconjugated bilirubin level will increase. Urinary urobilinogen will moderately increase. Serum iron चाहिँ यसमा high हुन्छ. Ferritin level will increase. Iron binding capacity will be reduced. Serum ferritin level will be increased. Radiologically, earliest changes like small bone of the hand shows rectangular appearance. If you do the X-ray of the bone of the hand, shows rectangular appearance due to increase in medullary portion of the bone. Bone cortex is thin out. The skull diploid space is widened. Interrupted porosity gives on head-in on appearance. To the X-ray of the skull, it shows hair on in appearance. Frontal bones appear thickened, starting in the nasal region, extending to the parieto-temporal region, spreading out the occiput. Pneumatization of the sinuses are delayed. Do the X-rays of the small hand, you can see the rectangular appearance of the metacarpal bones. If you do the X-ray of the skull, you can see the interrupted porosity gives like hair on in appearance. Frontal bones are thickened, pneumatization of sinuses are delayed. Now some things we'll discuss about alpha thalassemia. Alpha chain reflect the presence of 4 active alpha genes, 2 each on chromosome number 16. Usually they will not ask about alpha thalassemia, just we'll discuss. 4 types of alpha thalassemia are there. First one is silent carrier, where mutation affecting only one alpha gene. Out of 4, only one alpha gene is affected. Patient is usually asymptomatic, there is no anemia. Diagnosis is confirmed by beta to alpha globin biosynthetic ratio. Second one is thalassemia trait, mutation in 2 alpha gene. If there is mutation of 2 alpha gene is there, thalassemia trait bhancha. Third one is hemoglobin H disease, when only single alpha gene is functional. 3 alpha genes are affected. Here, moderate anemia, child will be pale, child will be icteric, child have jaundice, hepatosplenomegaly will be there, gallstones will be there, chronic leg ulcer will be there. In investigation, you can see the decrease in hemoglobin level. If you do the complete blood count, you can see the hemoglobin is decreased. Microcytic peripheral blood smear is so microcytic hypochromic anemia. Red cells are fragmented, increase in unconjugated bilirubin level. You do the hemoglobin electrophoresis for diagnosis. Treatment blood, usually there is anemia, so you have to give the packed red blood cell around 10 to 15 ml per kg over 4 to 6 hours. In between, you can give the Lasix. And if there is a feature of hypersplenism is there, severe anemia is there, persistent requiring blood transfusion, you can go for splenectomy. Third one is severe, most severe form, that is called hydrops fetalis. Mutation in alpha globin gene is there. Child newborn will born, means fetus will born with hydrops fetalis secondary to CCF, may die in utero. On examination, you can see the gross edema, generalized edema, child will be icteric, have jaundice, child will be pale, have anemia, there will be hepatosplenomegaly. Diagnosis, if you do the blood smear, you can see the hypochromic macrocytosis anemia with numerous nucleated red blood cell, that is called Bart's hemoglobin. Prenatally diagnosed by beta to alpha globin ratio. And treatment wise, if you suspect, you have to give intrauterine transfusion to blood, and after birth also child may require blood transfusion. Now treatment of thalassemia. Usually we'll discuss about treatment of beta thalassemia, that is also thalassemia major. Usually they may ask treatment or management of thalassemia. Management one on investigation and treatment left, treatment one and treatment matra partly. Usually they ask management of thalassemia, that investigation wise we have already discussed. Now treatment. Basically we have to maintain the hemoglobin level. So we have to give repeated blood transfusion. That is called hypertransfusion. Hypertransfusion means you have to maintain the hemoglobin level around 10 to 12 gram per deciliter. So to prevent from malfunctioning of the different organ, to prevent from anemia, to prevent from bony deformity, you have to start early blood transfusion, maintain the hemoglobin level around 10 to 12 gram per deciliter. You have to use packed red blood cell, that is fresh triple saline wash, around 10 to 15 ml per kg every 2 to 3 weeks child will require. And we have already discussed in pathogenesis, there will increased level of ferritin and irons. So you have to do the chelating therapy because this iron will deposit in various organs, can lead to malfunctioning. So you can use subcutaneous like desferrioxamine around 25 to 50 milligram per kg per day over 8 to 12 hours. You can start from 10 to 15 transfusion to prevent from iron overload and maintain the serum ferritin level around 1000 to 2000 milligram per ml. Orally also you can use deferiprone around 75 to 100 milligram per kg per day into 2 to 3 divided doses. Sometimes when the transfusion exceeds more than 250 ml per kg per year of packed red blood cell, you have to go for splenectomy. Nowadays, it's curable also. They are doing newer therapeutic approach like bone marrow transplantation. It's costly. If patients are affordable, you can go for bone marrow transplantation, which can cure the thalassemia. Under trial is gene manipulation and gene therapy is there, which are under trial. Nowadays, curative treatment is bone marrow transplantation. Okay. Prenatally, from fetal blood, determining the beta versus alpha chain ratio, a ratio of less than 0.025 is suggestive of thalassemia. Because if the family history we are suspecting in our community, like in Tharu community will have more of thalassemia. So in that case, if you are suspecting, you can do fetal blood sampling. You see the ratio of beta versus alpha chain. If it is less than 0.025, you can suspect thalassemia. So prenatally also you can diagnose thalassemia. So today we will discuss up to this. In the next class, remaining sickle cell anemia and autoimmune hemolytic anemia we will discuss.